Good morning, everybody. This is an official good morning. We are here. I'm Lisa.
I'm Marilyn. Hi.
And we are half of the Monday Morning Cooking Club, literally half. And it's always funny when you talk about our partners, we always say the better half. And I'm not going to say the better half. We are just one half of the Monday Morning Cooking Club. And we're really excited to be doing an early session. It's early for us. We normally do sessions at 11. It's now 9 a.m. in Sydney and Melbourne. Because we want to do some events for you guys in the Northern Hemisphere, in the US and Canada. And hopefully we've got a lot of you here today because we do know it's 3 p.m. in LA and 6 p.m. in New York and 7 p.m. in Nova Scotia. I can't remember. Nancy, I had it mastered and I've lost it. Anyway, we're excited because our new book, I have a little bit of a show. Now for something sweet. It's not so new in Australia. It's been out since March. Is now available on pre-order for 3rd of November, delivery or dispatch on Amazon and Book Depository. So it's very exciting. So now everybody who's been asking us for so many months in the US and Canada, where can we get it? Where can we get it? And South Africa, you can get it. So go to Amazon.com. Look up Now for Something Sweet or Monday Morning Cooking Club and you can pre-order it now. And
it's very
lovely.
Lovely.
We love
it's
this
luscious.
book, yeah. We really, really love it and we think that you'll love it as well. We'll talk more about it during the morning. So today for our cook-along, we are going to do a savoury dish. And you might think, why is there a savoury dish in a sweet book? Well, we decided that sweet is fabulous, but at the end of sweet, what do you need? Or before sweet, what do you need? You need something salty and savoury. So we've got one chapter called A Drink and a Nut. And
it kind of saved us because we tested so many sweet recipes for this book, like, I don't know, gazillions.
Yeah, gazillions.
And after a while, when you're dealing with your sugar coma, you sort of think, oh, can I just have something salty?
Yeah, that's it.
And this is it. This is it.
And so this chapter has beautiful things. It's got a couple of drinks ideas and a couple of snacky ideas of things to have with drinks. More snacky food than meals. And this is called Frojalda. We should have worked out how to pronounce it. I've got no idea if you pronounce the J or not.
Frojalda.
It's Turkish. So if anyone can tell us if we pronounce the J as a Y, you're probably right. It's Turkish cheese bread and it is, as we like to say in Australia, bloody delicious.
This chapter, tell me when we need to stop talking, by the way, but this chapter is called A Drink and a Nut, and I have adopted Lisa's line of A Drink and a Nut, and you need to explain why it's called A Drink and a Nut.
So it started probably, 7 years ago. We were on a panel together in Sydney about cooking and food and whatever, and the question from the moderator was, what do you call it when someone comes over to your house for a drink? So they're not coming for dinner. Maybe you're going to the theatre and they're coming over at 6 o'clock and you say, come over and come over for a blank. What is it? Yours was come over for a
drink. I remember because I just use yours now.
But do you remember what yours was?
No, probably just come over for a drink. I really don't know because I love her line so much.
And someone was come over for some hors d'oeuvres or come over for a snack. My mum always used to say, so-and-so's coming over for a drink and a nut. So I told them that's what I say, and they thought it was the funniest thing in the world. Who says a drink and a nut? So that's why this chapter is called A Drink and a Nut. How do you say that now?
It's actually the most perfect line because it's like promise low, deliver high. Anything more than a nut.
Yeah, that's very
People
true.
are so surprised.
Yeah. So that's why this chapter is called that. And every chapter in our book has got an introduction, and this chapter's introduction is about my mum and my late dad, and it's just worth, I want to say, go and read it.
Yeah, it's really
takes me home. Okay, a couple of questions before we start on the Turkish cheese bread. Hi for Lorraine in Cape Town. I've got to say, are you awake in the middle of the night?
Yeah.
I think so. I hope that you didn't get up especially, or maybe you're still up. Maybe you're having a big, no one's having big nights.
A big session of drinks and nuts.
Maybe, perhaps.
A lot of nuts.
Hi, and I've answered that one. And can we substitute the feta for more cheddar cheese? Absolutely.
Yeah.
You want to leave the feta out, leave it out. More cheese, the better. Okay, so let's talk about, we'll talk about where it comes from soon, but let's just get started. there's a few steps, and if you're following along, you'll know I did put in the email, I think, or in the social media, that there is a 2-hour rise. So we'll do it with you. We've got one we prepared earlier, so don't worry, you don't have to wait with us for 2 hours. I could talk for 2 hours.
We could hang around, but I've got other things to do.
If there's someone who's still up, Shana's still up. Yeah, well, I don't know how well you're going to sleep after this. Well, hopefully well, actually. Hopefully we don't put you to sleep during it. Okay, let's start with the measurements of the ingredients. And I've got the grams in my head, but I think we need to actually talk about ounces as well, because we are speaking to an audience who are imperial measurement rather than metric.
So you go metric and I'll interject.
So in a mixing bowl for your stand mixer, or not if you don't have one, 500 grams.
Which is 3 1/3 cups or 1 pound, 2 ounces.
Of plain all-purpose flour. So if you're in America, it's all-purpose flour.
Yeah.
If you're in wherever else, we call it plain flour. It has no rising agent in it. Then you're going to need 1.5 teaspoons or 5 grams or 3/4 of a sachet.
Yeah.
I'd actually throw the whole sachet in, to be honest. I don't think it matters. And you know, in these sachets, if you're using them, a little bit gets left behind anyway. So don't be meticulous of scraping it out, just tip it in. So 3/4 of a sachet, you can use these ones. It's active dried yeast or dried yeast. My favourite at the moment, for those of you in Australia, to use this one.
I have started using that one.
It's low in whole foods. It's from the supermarket. Instant dried yeast. I keep that in the fridge and I measure it always by teaspoons, and it's fantastic. So I recommend that highly. Okay.
You measure by teaspoons, I measure by grams.
Yeah, I find that my scales don't always do grams at that tiny level so precisely as a teaspoon does. So my recommendation actually would be to do it by teaspoons, unless you have very good scales.
That actually makes sense.
So I've got that. Then I need 2 cups, which is 500 mils, 2 metric cups. So if you're in America, it is
240 plus 240, 480.
Yes.
Right? That's not helping at all.
No, it's not. It's actually 2 cups plus
17 fluid ounces.
17 fluid ounces. Yeah. And 500 mil, that amount. 500
I think we
mils.
need to talk about water temperature, because some people have never worked with yeast.
So this is what I call
baby's bottle
temperature. So when you are making milk for a baby, you want it, and you put it on the inside of your wrist, this is exactly the temperature.
Yeah.
And it's too cool for a bath. You wouldn't want to have a bath in it. It is warm, but not warm enough for a bath. I don't know if that's going to help you. Someone said, can we use sourdough starter with this recipe? Yes, I actually don't see why not. I think it would be delicious with sourdough. I actually have recently bought some packets of sourdough. You can buy now. Yeah, I used it. Someone, a friend of mine who has a beautiful cooking website, Mia Cucina, makes pizza dough with these sourdough starter things, and they are fantastic. I'll go and get it in a minute and show you. Okay, so let's get on with this recipe. So we have flour, yeast, and water. And I'm going to add a bit of salt. There's no salt in the recipe. If you have super, super salty feta, you probably don't need it. But our feta's I'm just using regular supermarket Dodoni, if anyone's in Australia. Not recommending it as the best, it's just the one that we bought. Then I'd add a bit of salt, so I can just pass a bit of salt. So I'm going to add
I think the old-fashioned, you know, when you went to a market or a shuk or whatever, and you just went and bought that feta in the brine, it was really, really salty.
Yeah, that's right. So
and that's when this recipe would have been written.
The recipe doesn't say, but I always like to mix my dry ingredients through with a whisk, just to get everything well combined before I start with the beater. So that's just the yeast.
I just want to say, you know, our first book, if anyone's got it, has got an apple pie in it. And we once went on TV and the host said, this is a life-changing apple pie. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
This is life-changing bread. It is so easy. And once you've done this, I swear you're going to impress the pants off everyone you know.
Unbelievable. Anyway. The only negative about it is that it is dangerous, because you could seriously eat the whole dish. And I'm not exaggerating. It is, you'll see. So, if you don't have a stand mixer, you can use a hand beater. My new hand beater actually comes with a little dough hook thing.
Yeah.
So that would be quite good. And if you don't have that, use a mixer. It's a batter really, more than a dough.
Yeah.
A mixer might work. Otherwise, you can do it with your hands, with a wooden spoon. It'll just give you a sore arm for 5 minutes.
But you'll see that it's a very, very sticky dough, and you really shouldn't be adding more flour. So if you're doing it by hand, don't add more flour thinking that you're going to knead it like a bread.
So it's just a matter of putting the water in. Now, this is not a usual yeast recipe. A normal yeast recipe, you would actually mix the yeast with a bit of sugar and flour and make a well and let it bubble before you proceed. This is different. This is a very, very simple version, and we love it for that reason. But if you are struggling with using yeast, we have in our book. Can you, find that?
I was looking for it before, and of course I can't find it.
We have a series of how-to recipes, how-to pages, I should say, and one of the ones we have is how to work with yeast when you do need to make the well and all that. So,
I know that I'm going to turn around to you in 1 second, and you're going to tell me exactly where it's in the book.
I don't know. You'll have to find it.
I've got it basic.
So I've just used a wooden spoon. Again, that's not in the recipe. Just to mix the ingredients together. You don't have to. You can put it straight into the machine. I do find, however, that the bottom doesn't. Sometimes the flour at the bottom doesn't get used, and that's why I'm just doing this first. So I'm just putting it in the stand mixer. So hopefully everybody's following where we're up to. And now I'm going to put the beater on for 5 minutes, and I'm literally going to time it. Hopefully you can hear us over the beater, but hopefully you're all beating too. So
yeah,
just
that
bear
gives
with
me
us.
5 minutes to find how to yeast.
Can you still hear us? Could someone just give me Can you still hear us while we're talking over the beater?
It's pretty quiet. We could bring the microphone a touch
Great,
closer.
thanks, Karen. Thank you.
Okay, tell me where I find.
You need to use the index for that, I think. Actually, I can find it. Because you just look for the yeasty recipes.
Oh, I did. I knew. So one of the things that we absolutely love in this book.
We're mixing on, I always start on low, and I'm going to go up to medium. So I go up to medium, but I'm actually going to keep it on low because I don't want it too loud. But
I would
put yours on medium.
I would leave it on low the whole time because that simulates kneading.
Okay, let's say low to medium. Okay.
Anyway, what I wanted to say was.
And yes, it's the dough hook. Sorry, just keep going. But
anyway, what I wanted to say was. This book has got so many really, really easy, accessible, fast recipes. But of course, there are also lots of traditional recipes and inspirational recipes that take a bit longer or have techniques that people are scared of. And we were all scared of those things also 15 years ago when we all first met. So we really decided that we wanted to teach people how to do it. And so through the book, we have these fantastic how-to guides. This one is how to yeast, but we also have how to sugar, which is all about making caramel, how to chiffon, which is chiffon cake, how to...
Basic cake, how to make a basic butter cake, how to cream the butter, blah, blah, blah. How to custard, how to make a custard or a creme anglaise, and I'm missing one.
There are six
of them anyway.
And we really take it right down to basics, and we agonised over these to make them as clear and easy and concise as possible.
I'm just scraping down. I always, as a matter of rule, when I'm using the stand mixer, scrape down because it just doesn't always get everything that's up the side. And what I've got, and I am using the dough hook, is a mixture that is a sloppy, it's a terrible word, a sloppy batter, but it's sort of thick and becoming glutinous, like elastic, which is what the yeast is doing. So,
I actually think that if you didn't have a dough hook with this one, you could use a beater.
Yes, I think you could too. Like a
paddle beater.
Paddle beater. I'm definitely not a beater. Sorry.
It's looking lovely. While Lisa gets the picture. I'll have a quick look over here. Is that a dough hook, and what speed are you using? So we've said it's on low to medium. Robin has said she keeps her yeast in the freezer to keep it active.
Yeah.
I've done that in the past. I think that we now make so much more yeast than I ever used to that I don't need it anymore. The fridge is enough because I'm making colour every week or two.
Okay, so you're now going to need...
Thanks, Sonia. Sonia was ahead of us and said page
number.
178. And good morning, Sonia. Nice to see you here.
300 grams of feta, someone might say this is only a 200-gram pack, and you're right because I've run out of feta. But 300 grams is the right amount for the recipe. And whoever didn't want to put feta in, just leave it out. It actually doesn't matter.
Do you think, the people in the States use a lot of blue cheese where we use feta? I wonder if you could crumble some blue cheese in, which would modernise the recipe, but I think it would work.
I think it would be delicious. Well, really any cheese at all would be great in this bread. You just don't want something too heavy that might weigh it down. I don't know if that's the thing. Just crumble it really finely. Or no, I think you'll see it's quite a robust dough when it gets going. So we're probably approaching 5 minutes now. How about goat cheese? Yeah, I think Karen, goat cheese would be really nice.
Yeah.
Really nice. So you can see in your bowl, if you are doing it as we go along, you are getting, the beater is leaving a good mark in it as it goes.
Yeah. It's starting to look more sticky and glutinous.
Yeah, so you can see it's really a lovely batter. I haven't been timing it. I don't know if anybody else has been, but it's probably about 5 minutes. And I just want to show you something very interesting about it, which is...
Can you give me that?
Yeah, sure, thanks. Which is that it's become, I'm going to call this glutinous, like it's got a life of its own, this blob of batter.
It's stretchy and forms ribbon.
And it's just moves back. It's very sloppy. It's got the consistency of... well, a pancake batter, I have to say.
I want to say cement, but actually I've never touched cement in my life. That's what I imagine cement would be like.
So, Estelle says, and which are we using? Oh, can you tell the difference between active and instant yeast? Yeah, that's a good question. I think nowadays this is called instant dried yeast, and this is called dry yeast. So for us in Australia, these are the same.
Yeah,
these work the same.
I think that really technically, instant yeast you don't need to feed with some sugar.
Yeah.
And dried yeast you do, but this recipe didn't have any sugar in it. It's obviously just eating the sugars from the flour.
Yeah. So I think these days they are the ones you buy in the supermarket that are dried, you use the same way.
Yeah.
Fresh yeast is a completely different thing, and I actually don't use fresh yeast just because of ease, because I don't have it on hand and I've got to go and get it. And
it's actually quite hard to find, don't you think?
It is around here. You used to be able to go to the local Baker's Delight, which is a chain of bakeries, and buy it, but they've stopped doing that.
Yeah.
So now we're going to add, so we've got our batter, which has had a good 5 minutes in the mixer. If you leave it in for a bit longer, that's also fine. And we're going to crumble in the 300 grams of feta. And the best thing is to just do it by hand. Think about the size of the lumps, because that's exactly the size of the lump that you want. So you wouldn't want them that big.
Yeah.
You just want them. So I'm just going to crumble this in. And you can do this while the mix is going as well, and let the mixer do the mixing. But I wanted to just show you and have some quiet. Use your favourite feta. My favourite is actually Bulgarian feta. It is really salty and really flavoursome. And this Dodoni is Greek feta. It's nice. It's a nice everyday. You like it?
Yeah, the Dodoni is good. It's good. It's got that mix of sheep and cow's milk that gives it a bit of different flavour.
I actually think it's sheep and goat milk.
Do you?
Only because it says it on the packet.
Well, then she's clearly right.
I probably would have said, if you asked me before I read the packet, I would have said sheep and cow. It's actually sheep and goat. And then mix that through. Again, you can do that with the dough hook or not. It doesn't matter. Okay. Is Persian feta too soft?
Yes.
Oh, you could drain it.
I think it's too soft.
And it's also
it will taste great. The bread will taste great, but it won't have the same texture because you're not going to get those chunks of.
And it's also got the extra oil in it, which I don't think you need in this bread. So if that's all you've got, I would drain it. But it's also more expensive.
I think it's a waste.
And I think it's a waste of a good ingredient to put in this.
Now, once you've said that, imagine making a sandwich from this with Persian feta and salted sliced tomatoes in it.
Okay. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, so your batter's done. Now we need to get the baking dish ready. So let's... Which one in the oven? It looks fantastic. Okay.
How many baking dishes have you got that fit?
Well,
Lisa's kitchen is the gift that keeps on giving.
What you need for this is a large roasting pan. Someone says, now I'm hullishing. Yeah, I understand. Yes, this is a hullishing worth recipe. This is a really delicious, she's hullishing from your description of the sandwich. Yeah. We've got one in the oven that's about to come out, and the smell in the kitchen is just toasty, cheesy, buttery goodness. Yeah. So I'm using this, which is an old brand that we have in Australia. It must be worldwide, Bessemer, which is a very good non-stick. Apparently they don't make it anymore, but apparently they're bringing it back again. And this is the largest one I have. It's about 40 by 30 centimetres. It's big. Use whatever roasting pan you would roast a big chicken in. That's all I'll say to you. Okay, it doesn't matter. Don't stress about it. It'll be a bit thicker or a bit thinner. And what we need to do, we've got 150 grams. Is that right? Have I got the butter right? I measured it last night. Yes, 150 grams of unsalted butter. Can I use a deep lasagna pan, a foil one? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So this is butter, which we have melted, 150 grams, which is 5 1/3 ounces of unsalted butter. If you've got salted butter, that would also be fine, but don't add any salt to the dough. That's all. Okay, and we're going to put half of it into the bottom of the pan. Don't freak out about the amount of butter.
Just about to say that.
It really needs it. And the recipe came to us, we should talk about that, but let's get this done first and then we'll talk about that. So half the butter into the bottom of your pan. Can you divide the mixture into 2 pans? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we're also dividing the butter into half for the bottom and half for the top.
Mm-hmm. And you can just eyeball that. Yeah. It doesn't need to be exact.
And then the batter.
Let's just check out how easy this is.
Just
saying. And look at how sticky and glutinous it is now. It's like clad glue. That's what it's like.
It's beautiful. Okay.
Can I just, is it possible for us to hold this up or not?
Yeah.
See how it's not, it didn't, I really can't show it because it's just sliding around. But it's kind of gone into a big blob in the middle. So it's not a dough that you're going to knead.
I think the best thing to do, you can use a spatula, but I actually find fingers works the best for this. I don't know where you sit on that.
You just want all that butter on your fingers.
I just take my fingers, my clean fingers, and just do it like that and push it into the corners. Can you see what I'm doing? And stretch it a bit if you have to, and push it into the corners so that it's just even. All we're trying to do here is to get it evenly spread from corner to corner, from edge to edge.
It's thicker here.
And you'll see, mine's always thicker in one spot, and you'll see when it rises, and you go, uh-oh. Yeah. But it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
That's a photo.
I mean, it's really fun. I could do this for 15 minutes quite happily.
Yeah, takes you back to kind of.
It really is. It really is, and it's like lovely. It's not sticky because of the butter, and then. So
I wish someone made a perfume that smelled like butter, like melted butter.
I think it would be nice. I always said people should make a perfume that smells like barbecue, because when everyone smells barbecue, well, what does everyone go? Oh, that smells so good. So imagine if you had that on, and every time you walked into a room, they'd go, oh, that smells so good.
Okay, let's do butter and barbecue together, and we'll just.
And you business.
Yeah.
Who's in? Who's buying? Okay, so you can see that's it, done. Now we need to rise this. This is the 2-hour part. So we've got the batter with the feta in it. Have not put the cheddar cheese in. I think someone asked a question, but it's gone now. Sorry. I have not put the cheddar cheese in yet.
You've got to top it with the remaining butter.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Lucky you're here.
Yeah. It's so rare that I catch her out.
So there we are. We would have realised it about 10 minutes.
It's a major win.
Okay, so I'm just going to pour the butter on top.
Making sure the dough is covered with butter on all sides.
So I'm just going to use my fingers again.
More butter perfume.
Just to spread it. Oh, but it really doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be, you don't need to obsess over it.
Can you guys see it?
But it's a beautiful covering of butter.
That's it.
On the batter. Now, the recipe says to put a baking dish on top of it. So what I would do, but I've actually used up all my baking dishes today, so this is too small. But the idea is that you put it on top like that. And the reason that they want you to do that, I would think, is that if you put Glad wrap on, because it's a very sticky dough and sometimes the Glad wrap falls, it's going to stick to the top as it rises. So this is a much easier way. So a container, a dish on top. If you've got two dishes the same size,
speaking from
fantastic.
Personal experience, I didn't have a dish the same on top, and it doesn't rise enough to actually fill this baking tray.
No.
So I just got like a biscuit tray.
Oh, that's a very good idea.
And just popped it on top.
The other thing you can do, I just thought of, we have this, okay, these are the best things.
They're so good. I'm so sorry I've thrown
There's a company in Australia called Snow Goose. This is not a sponsored post. And they do beautiful gift baskets of fruit and stuff. Like at Rosh Hashanah, apples and honey, and at summer they do mangoes and whatever. And keep the lids, because the lids are these very fine wooden boards, which are so good for so many things in the kitchen.
What is that a word?
Yeah, there are. You are a genius. This is genius. That's it. That's going to go away for 2 hours now. Don't think about it. And I'm going to show you what it looks like. So I have one I prepared earlier.
I just used a baking tray. You should spray. You could spray the Glad wrap. Look, you could, but I personally don't think you need to put in that much effort. Can you use olive oil rather than butter? Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, you could.
Yeah, you could.
You could. It would taste different, but you could.
The butter is so good, and you've got all that cheese anyway. So the question is, are you trying to save dairy? You've got dairy anyway. Are you trying to save calories? It's the same. Are you trying to have less butter fat rather than olive oil fat? That would probably be the only reason.
Yeah, that would be the only reason. And it would be fun to experiment with it, I've got to say.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So
Glad go-between is great because nothing really sticks to it. That's called, like, for people in America, that's freezer wrap. That's a really good idea.
So this is the one that has come out of, that has been rising for 2 hours this morning. You can see it's evened out nicely. There's lots of little bubbles on the surface, and it's still very soft and what is it? It's really a batter still. It's not a dough. Okay.
I wanted to know if
some of the cheddar can go in.
Cheddar can go instead of the feta.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let me get the
sorry
cheddar.
that my reading's so rubbish, by the way, everyone. Could spray. Is active yeast the same as instant? Yes, you can substitute one for the other. If that wasn't answered before, you can substitute one for the other. I'm not sure if it's the same question that's come back.
Okay, so now cheddar cheese, we need 120 grams or 4.5 ounces. I find sometimes there's not quite enough cheese on this. You know, you're going all out. So I've gone 150 grams, which is probably 5 ounces, give or take, okay? Yeah. So 5 ounces of cheddar cheese. And I am using for this one, I think it's Bega Vintage, like one of those. I'm going to show you.
Which is very Australian.
Yeah.
Bega is an Australian brand named after the town of Bega. And you could really use anything. You
can use anything. This is a supermarket cheddar cheese. It's called Strong and Bitey Vintage, which I like. It's got a very lovely flavour. You don't need your fanciest cheese. We've actually made it with the most beautiful cheddar from England. And really, this is just as good for this. It's really, really good.
That cheese is so yummy.
So this is what we're using. And I put 150 grams or 5 ounces. If you want less cheese, put less cheese. And I've grated it by hand on the box grater, which is this thing.
But I really like this grater size.
I've grated it on this by hand. Someone's going to ask, I know, can you buy packet grated cheese from the supermarket? Of course you can, but I just want you to know that there's other stuff in there that make the strands stay separated, and they often don't melt as nicely. You can see the strands.
Yeah, yeah.
But you can see the strands with this as well, but still, yes, of course you can. All right. And it's just a matter of doing this, sprinkling it on top. I mean, I just want to dive into this already. And
this is just going to, you're just going to be called smarty pants for the next week after you make this, don't you think?
It's really,
it's just, if people knew actually how easy it is and yet how impressive when you said, don't tell them. Make it your trademark.
It's a really great recipe. We love it. Is it a white cheddar cheese? You know,
we don't have
yeah,
white
we don't
cheddar
have
cheese in
white.
Australia.
We have a different thing, and I was thinking about how to answer the Americans about this. Sorry, that's going to go in the oven. Because my cheese feta is not salty, I'm going to add a little bit of sea salt to the top of it because I think it gives a really nice. Yeah.
I've lost her.
You've lost her. You can talk. You can chat amongst
Oh,
yourselves.
well, Lisa's just searching around for the salt.
So I just love this flaky sea salt. We use a lot of it here in Australia. I don't know if the Americans and the Canadians use as much.
I think they call it Maldon over there, but not that you're always buying the brand name, but I think it's often just called Maldon salt.
So one of the brands that we get from the UK is Maldon, but of course there's Australian brands which are Olsen and Murray River Pink. There's
even
lots of
Saxa, the
things.
supermarket brand, sells a flaked salt.
So I'm just going to put a little bit of salt on the top. You can put some pepper if you want, and that will go in the oven at 200 degrees Celsius, which is 400 degrees Fahrenheit, preheated oven for about 40 minutes. And that's going to go in.
It says 35 here, so start checking at 30 because your oven might run hotter than ours.
Yeah.
So start checking at 30 and just see how you go.
Oh, and Jay says, bringing back wonderful memories of turkey and quick lunches in the cafes.
Wow.
No, we call this a cross between Turkish bread. In Australia, we have at the bakeries Turkish bread. It was a thing for a while. It was quite a big thing.
Big thing.
It's like a soft focaccia, I guess.
Yeah.
This is a cross between Turkish bread, focaccia, and crumpets.
Yeah.
Do you know crumpets? Is crumpets an American thing? Those little round...
Don't think so.
Yeasted...
They're not muffins. They're not breakfast muffins.
Things.
They're crumpets.
Okay. Yes, they have crumpets. Okay, so this has got the inside is like crumpets, the top is like focaccia, and the whole thing is this fantastic thing. Okay, that's going to go in the oven, and I'm going to show you one I made this morning, which I'm very excited because it looks, oh my goodness me.
Oh, here it comes out of the oven. Hang on, I'm going to move so that you can just show it with a big ta-da.
Ta-da! But there's more ta-da in a minute because I'm going to put it onto a board.
Let's put that one in.
Need a lovely big board.
Timer on for you.
Oh, thanks. So this has just come out of the oven and it's probably too hot to handle. I'm going to give it a few minutes. But the butter is bubbling, the cheese is melted.
If we had smell-o-vision, you would just be felling. I don't know the word for it.
Relishing, as someone said.
Relishing.
You would be wanting to eat this right now. And you'll see when we cut it, that is when you'll hear how good it is because it has this crunch like nothing else.
It's sizzling.
So this is perfectly cooked, and that's been in actually for probably 50 minutes.
And I just want to say it's sort of coming away from the edges beautifully, so you can see that it's going to toss out.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
Toss out, cut
so
out.
while it cools, I'm just going to talk about where the recipe comes from, because for those of you who aren't familiar with Monday Morning Cooking Club, we collect recipes. We've been collecting recipes since 2006 when we first came together, and our aim was to collect the best recipes from the best cooks we could find in the Jewish community in Sydney, then Australia, and then the world. When we were doing this sweet book, we realised that there were so many recipes, things that we just haven't seen, hadn't heard of, had never made it to Australia through the communities, and we needed to go and search. So we spent weeks and weeks and weeks searching the local libraries for every cookbook on Jewish food that we could find. And we read them and we read them and we tagged them and we made notes, and then we went away and we tested lots of them. And the ones that we loved, we decided we wanted to get permission to put in the book. And this is one of those. So we found a beautiful book by Jana Gore, who's a well-known Israeli. Have I pronounced her name right?
Yana? Probably not Jana. I think it's Yana.
Yana. I say Jana, I don't know why. Jana Gore, who's a very well-known Israeli chef and TV personality. Yeah. She has a book called
Jewish Soul Food from Minsk to Marrakesh.
We've been practicing saying Minsk all morning.
I keep wanting to say minx, like those animal things,
Yeah, minx.
Yeah, minx. Minsk.
So Minx. That's what they used to make coats out of.
Yeah,
minx.
yeah.
So her book is beautiful. It's actually one of the nicest books I've come across.
Yeah.
Really, really beautiful. And this recipe was in the book. So we made it and we went nuts for it straight away. And we wrote to her and found her and wrote to her actually, and she gave us permission kindly to put it in with acknowledgement to her. We have reduced the butter a little bit. She had, I think, double the butter, and we thought we can actually do with a little bit less. So this is the least amount that we think is okay. And thanks to Yana for giving us that recipe. So the recipes in our books come from all sorts of sources. They come from us and our families. They come from recipes that we've created over the years, and they come from the people in our community who we know and who we don't know.
And every person who's given us a recipe for the book, we've got a story about them, where they came from, how they came to love food so much. So our books really are full of recipes and stories, and you don't need to be addicted to baking like we are to be addicted to our books.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I feel like I need to take a photo of this spot before I serve it. Don't mind
quick
me.
intermission.
It just looks too good.
The lighting's beautiful.
Okay,
there.
so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use this.
I'll hold this book.
You can see
adore it.
It really comes out. This is why the non-stick is very good, because
Look
this
at
happens.
That.
If you don't use a non-stick, will that happen?
You
Probably.
can just toss it. Depending on, toss it. See? Put a board on top and flip it and see if it comes out maybe.
But just put a spatula underneath first, just to make sure. Now we're going to be really, really quiet because I want you to hear the crunch. I hope it crunches after that whole thing. Yeah.
Let us know if you could hear that.
Can you hear that crunch? I'm using this amazing knife that I just have to give a shout out to.
Someone said crunch. Yep. Yes, yes, yes. Thanks, guys. Just like an earthquake. Thank you
can I
for
give
that,
a shout out
Julie.
to this knife, because this actually was sent to us actually, I should say, by the company. And it's the best bread knife that I have used ever. And it's an Epicure, it's a Wusthof brand. And it's an Epicure. It's got a beautiful, beautiful handle.
It was sent to all of us, but it lives at Lisa's. We're all waiting very patiently for a turn.
I'm not sharing.
It needs to be adopted by all of us.
And I can't get enough of it. You know, you get a really crusty loaf of sourdough. Just cuts so beautifully.
You must feel very professional with that knife. It looks like a real kind of chef.
It's really lovely. It's really lovely to hold, isn't it? Anyway,
beautiful balance. Got a lovely balance.
I love it. And I wouldn't have mentioned it except that we're using it.
I just needed to crunch.
Yeah, how good is that? Now, I'm actually the only one who's going to taste this today.
Sorry. Don't eat gluten. Can't eat gluten. I'll be bellyached all day.
So it's up to me to really do it. And I have someone to do it.
Someone's got to do it.
And I know that none of you are up to this stage yet because yours are still rising. But hopefully you've seen what happens. So after the rise, you're going to put the cheese on top and you're going to cook it for 35 to 45 minutes. Check your oven on 200 Celsius, 400 Fahrenheit, till it looks exactly like this. Okay? The inside, which I'd also like to show you, it just has this beautiful
you need to get right up close.
And
can I take it closer for you?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, no.
You can actually go around and put it right.
Put it
right up to the camera.
I will. I can't see much when I'm out here, so there we go.
So see the green dot at the top, exactly. Oh, perfect.
Look, it looks like you're smiling. That's your
coming
smile.
out of the top. How good is that? You can really, and show the top as well while you're there. It's really beautiful. Like, it's just delicious, and you can see the strands of cheese still.
But they don't look that funny melted cheese. Look. That's what happens when we have a disagreement.
The oven temperature is not fan forced. It is a standard oven temperature, conventional oven temperatures. Can you make it in the morning and not eat it in the morning, you mean? Yes, yeah, absolutely. And reheat it. It will never be, I mean, nothing is ever as good with melted cheese
I know,
as it
but
is
let me
straight
say,
out of the oven.
no one is going to complain. It's all going to be finished. It reheats really, really well. She's just been an incredible
I
perfectionist.
just want to show you the bottom because the bottom's actually my favourite part.
She's just getting me back.
You see
She's
that?
covering me up.
It's really just a work of art, I have to say. And I think you'll all be very excited in 2
It's
hours
like
when yours
minimal
comes out.
effort, maximum effect.
Yeah,
That's
okay,
what
so
we're talking about.
before I have a bite, because once I start chewing, I'm gone and I'll just eat the whole thing. We were just running through about making it ahead. The other thing you could do is make the dough and put the thing in overnight in the fridge to rise and then bake it fresh in the morning if you wanted to do that. There's lots of options with yeast things. You can stop it at different stages. You can refrigerate it. But if you do have the time to do it all in one go and eat it just after it's out of the oven, then it's at its peak.
A question asked, which I think is a really good question. Could you add some herbs? And I think yes.
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
What would you add?
Touch of rosemary. Lisa's not mad on rosemary, but I think rosemary would be fantastic. Don't you?
Someone said it looks a bit like a pizza. You know what? It doesn't close up because it's thick.
It looks more like a focaccia.
Yeah, it does. At the top, but I get why you say that. So you could probably, whatever herb you like would go in it very nicely. But I love things that are just plain. I'm a very plain person. Herbs de Provence. We had a whole chat about those the other day. Okay, ready? Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
go.
gonna crunch. Ready?
Go. I can smell it from here dying. Thanks, Sandra. Maybe za'atar. Oh, that sounds great. Sprinkling za'atar all over the top. Turn it into Middle Eastern bread then.
I have no words to tell you how the butter makes this base super crunchy and delicious. The golden colour, you can taste it. Really sorry to do this to you.
No, I'm so happy. I'm getting joy from watching you eat it, knowing that I can't.
So good.
Did you use yellow cheddar? Yes, in Australia we don't have white cheddar, so we use
Someone
yellow
asked
cheddar.
that actually, and we never finished.
Feta and Kalamata
Kalamatas would be lovely.
Oh, yum.
Very nice. Let's just talk about the cheese in the US for a minute.
Garlic salt instead of salt.
So in the US, the cheese is sort of yellow, very yellow. That
Orange.
We're using the cheese. You could actually use any cheese at all. You could even use
Parmesan.
a pizza. They call it here. There's a pizza mix. It's Parmesan, mozzarella, and cheddar. Maybe use a combination, whatever you like. But remember, we're not making pizza. We're making this Turkish bread. So you need to, the mozzarella probably changes it to become more Italian. But any cheese would be delicious. In America, play around with your cheeses. A good Wisconsin cheddar. There you go. Thank you, Sandra. That's a great recommendation. So in the US, get a good Wisconsin cheddar. That's what we're going to say. It's so good.
I just want to talk about what we're doing next. Is this a good time while you've got your mouth full? You just keep enjoying that and I'll get on with the important business.
No,
I'm only joking.
It's actually really good.
So we are doing another event. It will be Lisa and Natanya. And for people in America, it's Sunday, the 22nd of November. So it's a few weeks' time. And for people in Australia, it's going to be Monday morning, similar time to this.
But it's actually going to be an hour later for us
in Australia.
It's going to be 6 o'clock for the US. It's going to be 10 a.m. for Australia because the US stops daylight savings next week. So it changes the time difference again. So that's Sunday evening, 22nd of November, Monday morning, 23rd of November, depending where you are. And Natanya and I are making the cake that Nigella Lawson wrote about from this book. It was her favourite. It's probably the most made cake from this new book. I would say it's worth buying the book just for this cake, but we are going to give you the recipe anyway. It's outstanding. It's called a coconut and passion fruit slab cake. And it's a gluten-free cake made with almond meal and coconut, and it's got a passion fruit icing. Yeah, and silly me didn't sign up to demo on that day because then you could have watched me eating it all. True. That's true.
So it's the most incredible cake. And we're actually loving doing this time zone where we're capturing people all over the world.
Yeah.
So,
except for South Africa and UK.
Well,
sorry, and Israel.
We need
except for those people that don't sleep.
We need to, get them to stay awake really, really late.
Yeah.
So please let us know if you want us to do something special and if this is working for you.
Yeah, like does the time zone work for you if we do more of these for the rest of the year and early next year? We'd love to do more. So tell us, does this time suit? Would you like it earlier or later? We're trying to find a time that fits everybody in the US.
Yeah.
From LA to New York and Canada the same. Everybody, we want to pick the perfect time. And Sydney, 9 a.m., 10 a.m. it's going to be, so that'd be great. So the ingredients, someone asked for the ingredients for the cake.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you register for that event, like every event, you'll get a list of the ingredients, like today's, which you can measure ahead. I just want to say that, so someone wants an hour earlier.
Someone loved the poppy seed cake. An hour earlier could work when we go on to daylight saving, because then we're starting at 9 o'clock again here.
Who goes on to daylight?
Well, when that time change happens, we would be 10 o'clock in Sydney, so we could just go back to 9 o'clock.
Which is going to be...
Which would be an hour earlier for you guys.
Yes, 2 p.m. LA.
Yeah.
4 p.m.
Someone else has said the time is great, or even an hour earlier.
And Sunday evenings work for you? That's the question.
Yeah.
Or a weeknight, would that be better? We just got some feedback that Sunday evenings was good for people and Sunday afternoons, which sort of makes sense. So back to the cake for a minute. So you'll get the ingredients when you register. You'll get an email from us if you were at this event, and you'll get an email from us if you weren't at this event but registered, with the details of the next event for you to sign up. I just want to note that it was originally going to be a week earlier on the 16th, and we've moved it a week later.
Sorry, I'm going to do it very quickly here, interjecting you, because someone's asked twice now. It's not almond flour, it's plain flour in Australia or all-purpose flour in the USA.
No, I think that the question relates to the cake, which is almond meal. That's okay. So almond meal is...
Almond flour.
Is that the same?
Almond flour in America is a little bit finer, but I'm pretty sure you could use it.
We call it here either almond meal or ground almonds.
Ground
and they're
almonds,
the same.
yeah.
I guess if someone would like the strudel, someone said they can't stop making the choc oat cookies. Yeah, they're pretty good, aren't they? We agree.
Yeah, they're amazing.
There's so many great recipes, and we'd love to share them with you. We are definitely going to
Maybe one day can you do the strudel recipe?
Yeah, we will.
I am all in because I made that cherry strudel on Friday.
She calls it strudel, like
strudel,
my mother.
Sorry, Hungarian mother.
In Australia, we say strudel.
Strudel.
But I like the way you say it. It reminds me of my mum. My mum says strudel.
It's and I made it on Friday, and I've got to tell you, it was the hit of the weekend, and so we'll do that for sure.
Okay. So Whole Foods in the USA sell almond meal. Great.
Yeah.
Great.
And
if you don't have fresh passion fruit for the icing, you can use they sell, I'm sure, their little cans of passion fruit pulp, which is perfect.
Yes.
But you only need 1 or 2 passion fruits for it. So if you can
Apple and sultana bun tea cake is the best.
Oh, the babka maybe?
The babka?
Yeah, it's delicious. Thanks, Sue. There's so many great recipes in this book. So just a reminder to everyone.
Where can I get your cookbook? That's a really, really good question.
Amazon USA at the moment. If you're in LA, you can go to Jones on 3rd. They are selling it. We just heard from Joan last week actually that her stock has just arrived. So please head to Jones on 3rd, have lunch or order lunch or buy lunch, and then you can buy the cookbook.
Or stick the title into Google. I'm sure that there are other bookshops. Barnes and Noble might have it, but we don't know. We know that Amazon is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And it's called Now for Something Sweet, if you want to stick it into Google, or Monday Morning Cooking Club.
And this is our 4th book, and and Amazon actually sell them all, as does Book Depository and wherever else you find it online. This is for the US and the Canadian market. If you're from South Africa, what we have found, we have looked into it so many times, we can't get it supplied directly there. I have really tried. Best bet is Amazon USA. They will deliver to you in South Africa.
Amazon UK?
No, USA.
USA?
UK won't deliver to South Africa.
Okay. I got that wrong.
It's very strange. I've really looked at it. Passion fruit pulp is hard to find. What would you use instead? Just add some lime or some lemon. It's already got lemon juice in the icing, so you could just leave the passion fruit out, but it does look lovely.
I think lime.
Do Whole Foods not sell it in the we have little jars of passion fruit pulp?
Yeah.
It'd be good to know if someone could find it. Frozen passion fruit from the supermarket. That's a great idea. Just to frost them. So if you have frozen passion fruit, you're only going to need 2 for the icing. That's it. Maybe even 1.5 if it's big. All right, so I think we're done. I think that I'm ready to go and finish this whole board of Turkish cheese bread.
I'll go and find a gluten-free cracker and be boring.
Okay, no passion fruit there in any form. Okay, then we will work in the meantime on a...
I think I would do a lime. I would substitute lime juice and a bit of grated lime zest into that icing.
Okay,
and
so
I think it would be sensational.
So, Bobby, Sandra says that Whole Foods usually have frozen passion fruit pulp. So have a look out for that. You only need a tiny bit. If you can find it, great. If not, we're going to give you the other lime option, which is delicious because it's really the cake that is the star of this thing. The passion fruit icing is just the icing on top.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's such a good cake. It's one of those cakes that you don't feel it's gluten-free. I know that sounds like a weird thing to say, but a lot of gluten-free cakes, people say, oh, it's really nice for a gluten-free. And so this cake is outstanding, full stop.
Yeah.
So we'll see you then in a few weeks. In the meantime, if you get our book, please post it on social media. On Instagram, we're Monday Morning CC. On Facebook, we're Monday Morning Cooking Club. We would love to see that you've got it. We would love to hear what you think of it. We will repost all your posts.
This is important.
Yeah.
The frozen doesn't have seeds in it, so when you see fresh at a crazy price, it freezes well.
So when you see fresh, put them in the freezer.
When they're not at a crazy price, put them in the freezer.
Do you freeze them whole?
No, I would take out the pulp.
Put it in a container.
Or freeze them in ice cube trays.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Okay, thank you for all those passion fruit tips.
Yeah.
Thank you also for joining us. Please join us at the next one. We'd love to see you again. Yeah. And we're really trying to build up a beautiful audience with the whole world. It's hard with the time zones. We've done it in Australia already. We get lots and lots of people, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds to our events online. And we'd love to build a community with all of you. Sydney, Melbourne people, Brisbane, Ipswich, you're all welcome too. So that's it from us. Thank you. And we'll see you next time. And all the best with everybody, whatever the COVID situation is in the country you're in. Hope you're doing okay. Hope you're staying safe. And so good to see you all. Till next time. Now I'm going to do this awkward little shuffle where I've got to go and switch it off.
And then I just stand here silently waiting for her.
Okay.